guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Johanna. For those of you who are new here, welcome. For those of you who are returning, welcome back. A great big shout out to my channel members for supporting my channel. Thank you. All right, so there is a bit of a glare on this, but that should go away in just a bit. I was gifted this by my brother. This was his A5 cousin regular. You can tell by the thickness. So this warehouses an entire year. He got this last year for 2023. He uses a Moleskine, and he just wanted to try out because he was ordering some things for me for Christmas, and he decided he didn't like it. So recently he gave it to me. At the end of the video, I'll show you some bonus content of what I'll be doing with the daily pages. A video will actually have gone up yesterday talking a little bit more about that, but since that video was filmed, I've actually done some more. But the reason for this particular video is I've been playing around in the weekly layout section. Again, I'm not using this for 2023, but I'm treating this more as a kind of art creative space. And so I wanted to show you guys some layouts and some ideas for layouts if you have a weekly setup that is in a vertical. Now, if you have the cousin or the cousin effect, then it definitely will work. But if you have any kind of vertical layout, it also will work as well. The lines in a Hobonichi are definitely visible, but like a happy planner or Erin Condren, or even some of those things you can get from like Walmart or Target or your local store, it might actually be even more bolder than this. I find that this is perfect if you wanted to use it as a vertical layout. I do have some ideas on how to use this that kind of goes away from the vertical layout. So let's just get started. So the first layouts I'm going to show you is all in the vertical style, and this one is kind of time blocked, and I approach this as I like deco in a planner or journal spread, especially if it's something that I'm going to be doing or looking at on a daily basis, because it just makes me interested in coming back to it. And so the way that I approach this is using the time functionality on here, where I always know I want to be at work by 6:30, and then it kind of strays because I also know I want to be in bed by 11. So this is really the functional time that I have. It takes into account a little bit of the commute and whatnot, but it really is just time blocked on when I want to start my day and when I want to end my day to include work. The green that you see across is when I have my meals focused on the work week. Here for Saturday and Sunday, as you can see, this is just a meal planning. Again, I'm not using this. So this was just idea, okay, well, how would I use the time functionality in the layout that's already there? And I think it's interesting. This top section is my work tasks, as well as the breakfast and the lunch that I couldn't eat in that day. My commute home, because I generally leave the same day if I am in the office, what I potentially had or could have for dinner, and then some things just to remind myself for self-care regarding either watching movies, television, anime, coloring, reading, whatever. And I like this kind of functionality just because I can see where the time blocks are. I can see what I've done, but I also have some spaces here that gives me just some personal time. So this is comprehensive of both a work layout and personal layout, and then just some fun things over here just to use the space. Now, the second way I thought a vertical layout could be useful is because I am completed task driven. I don't plan out future tasks. I just write down tasks that I have completed. I would section off this to be all of the completed tasks I did for the work week. And then the bottom section could be a really useful journaling section. And so for this particular example, I did a daily tarot pull where I could just pull a daily tarot card and then write down here. But this could also be Bible verse, it could be just a self-reflection, it could be a what am I feeling mentally, emotionally, spiritually, medically. It could be any of that, but there takes a task at the top and then journaling spot at the bottom. Again, because I don't generally use my everyday carry, which is my Hobonichi Weeks, on the weekends in the same fashion, that just becomes an extra spot for deco. Now, the next example I'm going to show you is something that I definitely want to carry throughout starting in 2024. In fact, once I do my Hobonichi order, which will be on October 1st when the one-piece items become available, I plan on giving a Hobonichi A5 avec cousin and starting something like this. So whether I start it as soon as I get it or whether I wait till 2004, to me it's irrelevant on when I start it because I'm not using the dates. I have this really good ability of just ignoring things that mean nothing to me. And this is a word a day. Now, it doesn't mean that every day I would look at a word, but I would just do it sequentially. So the next time I was in here, maybe I would do 2, and then I would do 1, and then I would do 3. But I really liked this setup. The deco is based on some frame stickers that I had that were clear, but I didn't want to measure anything, so I actually put the frame stickers first, and then some word stickers on top of it. And the top section here is the definition of the word, and some of the definitions actually are quite comprehensive and mean several different things. Then I did a little bit of journaling on what that word meant to me, both just initially or based off of what I had researched based on the definition. For instance, smitten is the past particle of smite, and yet those two words do not really have a kind of an equal connotation to me. Smite seems like something that is done to vanquish your enemies, done with ferocity, and it's almost warlike, while smitten to me always makes me think of young or naive or first love. So those two things are not on the spectrum. And yet I thought it was interesting how those two words are tied together. And then I just looked up a quote online that had the word in it and then just wrote it down here. And I love the visual of this. I think the iteration that I'm going to do in the Cousin avec is just stamping and lettering, and then doing some writing just like this. And again, it'll just be whatever the next day is I'm in this, then I just go for the spot. So again, the space at the top would become irrelevant to me. So those are 3 ideas on how to use the vertical layout as is, but I know with my Hobonichi Weeks, the horizontal layout is there and I can use it, no problem. But I get bored sometimes. So it's not even something that I'm looking to try to find the perfect planner or journal system. It's just, I want to look at something different. If I'm going to be in the same book week after week after week. And so the first idea was really inspired by the Hobonichi Week, where it's a week on the left side in a horizontal fashion, and then space on the right side to do whatever. Now, about half of it is being taken up by deco, but this could actually be fully functional. Now, the way that I approach this as a content planner, either on YouTube, Instagram, or whatever, I've listed out the days. Now for this, it corresponds to the actual week. But if you are repurposing a cousin that you've picked up in previous years, again, you could cover that up if it bothers you, or you can just actively ignore it and then just put the actual date on here yourself. To me, again, that's sufficient for my needs. It doesn't actually matter what it says at the top. This section here is absolutely inspired by my friend Andy over at Books and Scribbles. When I was still kind of on top of things, I really loved her FES method, which is film a video, edit a video, schedule a video, and then has it been posted or scheduled for social media. And it's a great way to kind of line up what still needs to be done and then checking off what has been done. So for the most part, I only do the first 3. I film, I edit, and I schedule. I rarely do anything on social media, but I love how she developed this system to keep track of all of that. You could even go further and do the fest method and then spring out to, did you schedule it on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or this, that, or the other? And then you really just have an ongoing list that you can check off. Yep, did that, still need to do that. That also would help you kind of map out what you still need to do. Now, I purposely left Sunday blank here because I personally feel that even though these lines are there, once you start treating this as a horizontal section, to me, they just kind of go away. Again, perhaps my superpower of being able to ignore things it kind of plays into this, but I don't think it is so thick or obnoxious that it actually detracts from the layout. So again, if you're looking for something that's a little different from the week, then this definitely might be an option for you. One word of advice though, from the top line here to the bottom line here is 7 inches exactly. But this is a grid done in centimeters. So this first line lines up to an actual line, but then some of the lines are actually in between grids. So I just measured an inch for each of these. And if that's something that bothers you, this may not be the layout for you because you're not taking existing lines, because the centimeters may not actually line up with inches. And because this is done in Japan, and I think centimeters is something universal except for United States of America. That's just something you might have to take into account. For me, it was easy enough. I just did 2 registration marks and then drew a line to meet them up. Again, definitely works on a functional level, and you could use it for whatever it is that you use. I took the same layout and just flipped it. And as you can see, there's no kind of cohesiveness or consistency from week to week by way of what I was tracking, because I really want to see, okay, so my weeks is going to be my everyday carry. So this, the Cousin Avec that I'm going to get, is going to be for funsies. What can I do with the layout? What can I play in that's going to be interesting to me? So this was just looking up some interesting foreign words, and then the definition here, playing around with some color. And then I also looked up the Chinese calligraphy for my name. I'm pretty sure I butchered that horribly. And the meaning of those characters means chicken lotus, vigorous to hold, which I thought was hilarious. And then I also looked at my name in Elvish. So if I'm understanding this correctly, Johanna is a derivative of John, the saint. And so the meaning of my name is God is gracious, God is good. And in Elvish, that would translate to Urina, and that's what those letters mean right there. Now, again, probably not the best rendition of it, but I think that looks so cool. Even this, I think Korean might actually be easier to write because they don't have as many letters. So that might be something in the Cousin that I periodically do, where I just take the of various words and go ahead and look up the Elvish version of it, or the Chinese, or the Korean version. Honestly, that might be interesting to see in the monthly section. Definitely something to think about. But I love the layout. Now, the benefit of having it on the right side versus the left by way of the horizontal layout is twofold. One, because there's 4 columns, this one actually has that, so you couldn't go straight across. It is a bit longer. Plus, as someone who's right-handed, I always tend to enjoy writing on the right-hand side just because it's easier for me. So it does give you plenty of space, definitely more than you'd see in a Hobonichi. So if I have my weeks right next to it, it definitely is a little taller, but also is a little wider. So it just gives you a little bit more space if you're doing it on the left-hand side as the weeks is, but if you're doing it on the right-hand side, then you definitely have a lot more space. And if you're someone who likes to write a lot of notes or has big handwriting, this might be a better layout than vertical. I know there's definitely different camps of vertical planning and journaling versus horizontal planning and journaling. I can make a horizontal work, but I definitely prefer a vertical layout. So this is just another idea on what you can do with your weekly spread. This takes that horizontal layout to a full-on horizontal layout. So you've got a full week plus a section for notes, and I'll actually show you that in the next section, where you can do planning. And because this one has 4 columns, but this only has 3, this became it's useful space, not in this rendition, but it can be. And so that's why it's 3 columns long for each section. And I actually really like this. Now, I can kind of see this as sort of an elongated vertical, because again, that's how my brain works. So I've got the deco lined up. I've got the particular tarot cards lined up, and then I've just got lists and text of what these different things mean. But I think it's a really useful, again, if you write big or if you have a lot of things going on, it definitely can be a very useful layout. And again, I mean, I can see the lines, but it's not what I'm focused on. And so this definitely could be a way to use a weekly layout and just make it into a horizontal. If you want to do that every single week, just to make it the way that your brain worked, because it isn't being offered that way by Hobonichi, great. But I also think it's just a great way if, you know, every once and again you just switch up the layouts, which I do a lot in my weeks because I want to do something else and it's interesting to me. Now this is actually the layout without any kind of deco. So as you can see, it's 3 columns wide, functional space on the left and the right. This actually does line up with the lines here. So it goes from 5 to 10:30 if you're looking at yours. And then it goes to 4 o'clock, 9:30, and then 3 a.m. if you're looking at the time blocks on the side, and those are equal spacing in between. Now, like I said earlier, I have the ability to ignore, so I don't even look at the numbers. So I really had to look, okay, what does that actually mean? But I think it was helpful because this is very deco heavy, although there is a lot of text. But this does definitely show you how a horizontal layout is feasible. You've got your notes section here, and then list making here, journaling spots, whatever. This next couple of spreads actually goes into more of a dashboard layout. Now, the traditional dashboard layout that I'm aware of comes from Happy Planner. Maybe they're not the originator of it, but that's how I know it. And the dashboard generally is a bunch of blocks on one side with some other blocks for notes or to buy or to do or whatever. I took it a little different for this initial, and I've got the work week for me, which is Monday through Friday, and then I've condensed the weekend, because if I were approaching this as an everyday carry, it would be work-based, where I'm listing down tasks, and then the weekend is either I'm working overtime or I'd have a notes section to remind me of things to do for next week for the work week. But as you can see, it does take up quite a bit of space, so it gives you the best of both worlds, of both vertical, because you've got quite a long section, but also if you write big or if you just got a lot to write or journal, then you definitely have a lot of space to do that. Now, because this is heavily decorated, I find that interesting and it makes me interested to come back, but you know, you certainly don't have to use it. I've also created the layout here. It's basically 2 columns, and then it's split at 5 to 4, and then 4 to 3:30, and that makes it equal spaces. In this rendition, it actually has a box for every single day of the week. It gives you some space at the bottom for notes or for deco, and then it gives you some space over here. So I definitely think it can be a useful layout depending on your particular needs. And I mean, you could actually segment this out on work tasks, home tasks, or Etsy shop and social media, because you do still have the functional columns in each individual box. I would probably just write the days, although there are sticker kits that you could put that down, again, if you want to ignore all of that. This is another rendition of a dashboard. This one does have the entire week on one page, again with Monday through Friday and then the weekend. Although once I set this up, I actually turned this into a sort of book review section. And so got some quotes about reading, some deco on here, did the book here. So it's not actually tied to a day. It's just that's the columns that were there. I've got some quotes from the book, some feelings on the book, and then just some information from the book. And so it definitely could be broken down into that if you're doing a reading journal and you want to take advantage of the boxes that are already there, because you could have this as your own kind of book review where you have all the information out the book, you have a synopsis of the book, the number of pages, where you read it. I actually read it on Kindle Unlimited for free, and then I purchased the ebook because I loved it so much, and then write down quotes here. You wouldn't have to put the day, but I had already labeled it before I thought what I was going to use this for. And then this side could actually be either some fan art or some art that you did, or just some collaging, just having to do with the book that you were reading. But I really like the look of this. I kind of struggled with this just because I'd already done so many layouts. I didn't know how to approach this, but I'm really happy with the overall effect of this. It's really good to me. I don't actually do book reviews, so I can tell you books that I enjoy, but I don't generally write this kind of stuff down, but it was interesting to do. And then the final suggestion in the layouts for the vertical section is this. So this is again a dashboard layout where the entire weekly section is on one side, and you could do either side, that's up to you. But this incorporates the full week as well as a column for notes, and then this section would be open to whatever. This I decided to approach as a meal planning section, and so these would be the meals that I would write down first based on what I knew I had in my pantry or in the fridge, and then doing a shopping list based on things that I needed to kind of supplement all of this. Did some stamping here, brought in some deco on this side with some colored ink, and then just some washi stickers on here. Although to be honest, I could have done more stamping and keep this, especially if you're going to have a full year of meal planning, keep this relatively thin, just because this will eventually get thicker. And I've learned over the years that I just don't like a gator mouth type of planner. But I thought this was an interesting system for me. Again, by this time, I'd kind of run out of ideas because I don't meal plan like this. I don't write reviews like this. But I think it's sometimes interesting to see how you can use your stuff in different ways, because on those days that perhaps you have a vertical layout, you can use some of the empty space, or on some of those weeks, you can kind of plan that out. But I just like seeing and thinking of different creative ways on how to use this. If you'd like more suggestions on how to use it as a dashboard, horizontal, weeks, or vertical, let me know in the comment section below. I mean, I have all of these weeks that I can play around with. Again, this was just more of a creative project for me, but it was a fun challenge. It was a little challenging, especially trying to figure out how to use it, but overall, I am really happy with the different effects. And so just knowing that if I were to get into a cousin or a VEC, which I'd probably lean towards, I could still switch things up if I got bored from the just original vertical layout. All right, so if you're still interested, let me show you what I'm doing with the daily pages. I actually set this up and I did a video that went out on the 15th of September. Depending on when you watch this, it might be quite a few days after this, but this is going to be the video that I'm doing on the 16th of September, my Saturday video. And I decided to use some of my various inks in the daily pages. Now, the way that I'm approaching the daily pages in here, as well as how I plan to approach the daily pages in the AVEC, is I don't care about the date. I'm going to use the right hand side like I would use any other notebook. I generally don't write on the back of a page unless it's like a Hobonichi Weeks, and that's where the week is. But that way, when I show you what I've done so far, everything's going to be done on the right hand side. So I'm using fountain pen ink that I have that my brother gifted to me. I'm using distress ink, and some of these pages were actually used with Tombow water-based markers and mild liners. And I'm just doing some collage play, some text on the page, using some of my ephemera, and just enjoying the process. So that one was in the video that I showed on the 15th. I had shown how I had done the background, and this is what I did on top of that. As you can see, don't care about the bleed through here. I do put a protector page when I'm doing the ink work, because I start with that first, just because I sometimes don't want to have bleed through on the next page with the colors, but because I'm not using this back page, I don't care if it actually bleeds here or vice versa. And as you can see, this was actually done with various Tombow markers and some stickers and some stamping on top of it. Tombow markers, stamping, stickers. This was actually a Tombow and a mild liner, some Sticky Club stickers, some stamping, and some Tim Holtz text here. And this one actually is my favorite. This is some Tombow markers and some Diamine Dragon Blood ink. I kind of framed out this middle section, used a Sticky Club sticker, and then used my dip pen in that Dragon Blood ink. Looked up a quote online and just kind of wrote that here. I've got some gold dual metallic brush pen on here, and then I also have a black blue ink that's in my Sarasa Grand, just to kind of tie some of these colors together. And I really love how this looks. And so this rest of this section is just going to be that, just different ink pages with different collage elements on there, whether it's minimal by way of one sticker, no stickers, all stamping, handwriting, or just doing text that I have from various different text sticker sheets that I have. The sky is the limit. But it has been a lot of fun for me. And if you'd also like to see how I play around with this in the daily pages, then just leave me a comment in the comment section below. All right, guys, I hope you found this useful. Definitely let me know if there's one or more of these layouts that you gravitate towards. I'd love to know in the comment section below. That's it for me for now. And as always, aloha.